She sold my childhood home behind my back, then showed up at my door years later, tears in her eyes, begging to move in. Stay tuned to know what happened, because I never expected to be the one to say no. They say you can never go home again. I used to think that was just something people said when they outgrew their roots, when the town felt too small, or the memories too distant. I never imagined I'd be standing on a cracked sidewalk, keys still in my hand, staring at the front door of my childhood home, and realizing it didn't belong to us anymore. But let me start at the beginning. My name is Kimberly. I grew up in a 2-story blue house with white shutters on a quiet street in Willow Ridge, a sleepy suburb where every neighbor waved. Lawns were mowed like military haircuts, and the air always smelled faintly of jasmine and barbecue. That house held everything that mattered to me: my first steps, my first heartbreak, the laughter of birthday parties, the scent of cinnamon rolls on Sunday mornings, and the hushed fights my parents thought I couldn't hear. My dad passed away when I was 17. Heart attack, sudden. One moment, he was humming Springsteen and making pancakes. The next, I was holding Mom's trembling hand in an ER waiting room under fluorescent lights that made everything look unreal. After that, it was just the two of us, me and my mom. And for a while, we held on to each other like two people lost at sea. I thought we were close. Maybe not tell each other everything close, but there was comfort in our routines. She'd make coffee too strong. I'd water it down with milk. We'd grocery shop together and fight over frozen pizza brands. We were a team. Or, I thought we were. The thing about betrayal is that it doesn't always come loud. Sometimes it arrives in silence, quiet decisions made behind closed doors, truths edited out of conversations that almost mattered. I was 24 when I left Willow Ridge. Graduated from college, landed a job in publishing in Chicago. Small apartment, freezing winters, overpriced coffee, typical early adult chaos. I stayed busy, focused, ambitious. I called Mom once a week, sometimes more, checked in, asked if she needed anything, offered to visit, but she always said, "No, sweetheart, you've got your own life now, I'm fine." I believed her. The last time I was home, God, I can still smell it. Lemon cleaner and old books. The porch swing creaking in the wind. My room hadn't changed. Same purple curtains, same glow-in-the-dark stars I stuck to the ceiling in 8th grade. I left a few boxes in the attic that weekend. Yearbooks, old trophies, a journal I was too scared to reread. She seemed distracted, not herself. When I asked, she said, "Just tired, nothing to worry about." So I hugged her goodbye, told her I loved her, promised I'd come back in the spring. But spring never came. The call came on a Wednesday. I'd just stepped out of the subway, juggling my tote bag, a lukewarm bagel, and my ringing phone. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. "Hi, is this Kimberly?" "Yes?" "This is Richard Withers from Willow Ridge Realty. Just wanted to confirm we received the updated forwarding address for Ms. Caldwell. Your mom, right?" I stopped walking. My breath clouded in the cold air. "I'm sorry. What?" "Oh, just making sure we have everything squared away for the sale of the property. The new owners are set to move in next week and—" "What sale?" I said, my voice colder than the wind. A long pause. "The house on Magnolia Drive. Your mother didn't tell you?" "No, she didn't." I remember racing to voicemail. Nothing. My texts? Unread. I stood frozen on a street corner in a city that never really felt like mine, while the one place that was mine vanished without warning. It was like losing my father all over again. Except this time, it wasn't death that took something from me. It was her. I flew back that weekend. Walked up the familiar sidewalk. The hydrangeas were gone. The gnome statue by the mailbox I hated as a kid was missing. And that blue door, that stupid blue door, was open. A man in cargo shorts was carrying a lamp into the foyer. A little girl with pigtails ran past me down the driveway. I felt like a ghost in my own past. The woman, his wife, I assumed, smiled politely when I stammered out that I used to live there. She said, "Oh, you're the daughter, right? Your mom said you moved far away, said you wouldn't mind." Wouldn't mind. Wouldn't mind that she sold the house I grieved my father in, that she boxed up my childhood and sent it into someone else's hands, that I wasn't even worth a phone call. I didn't cry until I got back in my rental car, and when I did, it was ugly. Rage, grief, confusion. I called her over and over. She didn't answer. Weeks passed, then months. She texted me eventually. "Hope you're well. I needed a change. It was too hard living there alone. Let's talk soon." But I couldn't bring myself to reply. How do you talk to someone who erased your history? I buried myself in work. Promotions came. I met someone, didn't last. Bought a condo, not a house. I didn't want another house, not after that. And even though I told myself I was over it, I wasn't. Some nights I'd lie awake wondering where she went, if she cried when she left, if she packed my boxes with care or tossed them like they were someone else's junk. Part of me hoped she'd reach out again, that she'd show up on my birthday, that she'd apologize, explain, anything. But silence became her specialty, until 6 years later, when the doorbell rang, and I opened it to find her standing there, hair streaked with gray, coat too thin for November, eyes glassy like she'd been crying for hours. She looked smaller, older, fragile in a way that made my stomach twist. She said my name like it was a question, like she wasn't sure I'd still answer to it. I froze. Her lips trembled. "Kimberly." I don't know who else to turn to. And just like that, my past was standing on my porch, begging for a future. I wish I could say things got better after the house was gone, that somehow I found closure in moving forward. But the truth was, I never really did. The home was gone, but the betrayal clung to me like a second skin. I tried to settle into my new apartment. It was modest, clean, a far cry from the creaky warmth of our old house, but fine for starting over. I painted the walls a soft green, bought secondhand furniture, and told myself this was a fresh chapter. But every night I'd lie in bed and see the hallway of our old place, hear the ghost of my father's laugh drifting up the stairs. The silence after losing something so personal is louder than most people realize. It echoes. And my mother? She was nowhere to be found. After the sale, she left no forwarding address, changed her number. The lawyer said she had moved to another state, Florida maybe. I didn't bother to find out. If she could walk away from the life we built together, I could walk away from her. Or so I thought. 2 years passed. In that time, I rebuilt, slowly. I got a job at a publishing house downtown, junior editor, long hours, but it paid well enough. I found joy in the small things. Coffee from the cafe around the corner, evening runs, book club on Thursdays. My life was quiet, but finally mine. And then she called. It was a Saturday morning and I was making pancakes, humming to the radio. My phone rang. Unknown number. I don't usually answer those, but something, intuition, fate, foolishness, made me pick up. "Hello?" I heard a breath. Then, "Kimberly?" I froze. I hadn't heard her voice in over 700 days, but it hadn't changed. Not one bit. "Mom?" Silence. I didn't know if you'd still have the same number," she said, voice thin and cracking. I almost didn't answer. She chuckled weakly. "I wouldn't blame you if you hung up right now. I should have." But something in her voice, fragile, hesitant, not the woman who once stood tall in the kitchen and told me what I could and couldn't feel, made me wait. "Why are you calling?" "I need to see you, please." "Why?" There was a pause, then words I never thought I'd hear from her. "Because I have nowhere else to go." Turns out, the man she sold the house to marry, his name was Kenneth, had left her. Clean break, took most of their money with him. She'd moved across the country for him, left everything behind, and now she was living in her car in New Jersey. I felt so many things at once: anger, pity, resentment, confusion. I didn't know which one to believe. "Why should I help you?" I asked. She was quiet for a long time. Then, "Because I'm still your mother." I hung up, but I didn't block her. I should have, I know, but I didn't. 3 days later, she was standing at my front door. It was raining, of course it was. Her hair was wet, her coat too thin, and she held a single duffel bag. "Can we talk?" I didn't want to let her in. I wanted to scream, tell her she had made her bed, let her lie in it. But I opened the door. We sat at my kitchen table, the same one I'd found on Craigslist 6 months ago. She looked around, taking in my space, and I saw something flicker in her eyes. Maybe regret, maybe realization. "This is nice," she said softly. "It's not the house," I snapped. "I know." She folded her hands. "I was wrong, Kimberly, about everything. Kenneth, the house, us. I thought I was starting over. I thought I was chasing happiness, but I ruined everything." I didn't say anything, she continued. I told myself I was doing it for me, but the truth is, I was scared. After your father died, I didn't know how to be alone, and you were moving on, building your life. I felt left behind. So I ran. It was the most honest thing she'd ever said to me, and I hated how much I wanted to believe her. But belief doesn't erase consequences. "You sold the last piece of dad I had," I whispered, without even telling me. "I know," she said, eyes filled with tears. For the next hour, we talked, or tried to. We danced around everything: my childhood, the betrayal, her loneliness. It wasn't healing, not yet, but it was a beginning. She asked if she could stay, just for a few days. I told her I'd think about it. That night, I barely slept. Memories flooded me. Holidays in that old house, the sound of rain on the roof, the way she used to sing while cooking, and the look in her eyes when I opened the door. I knew this wasn't just about shelter. She wanted forgiveness, redemption, maybe even a chance to rebuild. But the thing about rebuilding is, you have to clear the wreckage first, and I wasn't sure if I was ready. The next morning, I gave her a pillow and a blanket. "You can stay on the couch," I said. 3 days, that's it. She nodded, grateful. But in my gut, I knew this was only the beginning of something far more complicated. Because secrets have a way of clinging to people like smoke, and I was about to find out my mother hadn't told me everything. It's strange, the way old wounds reopen, not with a scream, but with a whisper. My mother stayed on the couch, as promised. 3 days. She was quiet, polite, always the first to clean the dishes. But something about her presence made the walls of my apartment feel smaller, tighter, like I was suffocating under the weight of her unsaid truths. On the second night, I came home late from work. She was sitting at the table, flipping through one of my old photo albums, the one I kept on the highest shelf, out of reach. She looked up, startled, and quickly closed it. "I was just remembering," she said. I didn't respond. I took the album, slid it back onto the shelf. She watched me, her eyes heavy with something I couldn't name. Then she said, "Kimberly, there's something I need to tell you. About the house." I stopped. "I already know what you did." "No," she said, standing. "You know what I did, but not why. Not really." I crossed my arms. "You told me. You were lonely, scared. You ran. That's the why, right?" She looked down. "Part of it." I stared at her, waiting. She sat down again, slowly. Her hands trembled in her lap. "I was in debt, Kimberly." I blinked. "Debt?" "Gambling. It started after your father died. I didn't tell anyone. Not you, not your aunts. I thought I could fix it. Just a few bets to keep the house running, you know? Then Kenneth came along and he promised things. Promised to pay it all off. Said I could sell the house, move in with him, start fresh. I was drowning and he threw me a rope. I felt my stomach sink. So you sold our home to settle gambling debt? She nodded, shame crawling up her face like ivy. And Kenneth never paid a dime. Once the house was gone, he changed. Said he didn't sign up for baggage. And just like that, he vanished. I sat down, numb. I couldn't face you, she whispered, so I ran. Again. The truth hit like a thunderclap. All those years I spent blaming her for choosing love over family, when in reality, she had chosen desperation. But the damage was the same. I hated you, I said quietly. I hated you for leaving me with nothing, for taking Dad's memory and trading it away. I hated myself too, she replied. Silence settled between us, thick and wet like a storm cloud. There was no apology strong enough to undo what she had done, but still, she tried. I'm not asking for your forgiveness, she said. I'm asking for a chance, to be better, to earn back something. I looked at her, the woman who raised me, the woman who broke me, and maybe the woman trying to put the pieces back together. I stood and walked to the window. Rain tapped gently against the glass. I can't forget what you did, I said, but I can't forget who you were before it either. She nodded. Her eyes shimmered, but she didn't cry. Not this time. So what now? She asked. I turned. You stay, but this isn't forgiveness, not yet. It's a start. And for the first time in years, she smiled. Small, broken, but real. Over the weeks that followed, things were tense, but different. We talked more. She told me stories I'd never heard, about my father, about her youth. I listened. Sometimes I laughed. Sometimes I walked away. She found a job eventually, waitressing at a diner 2 blocks away. Said it felt good to earn something again, to wake up with purpose. And me, I found something too. Not closure, not yet, but understanding. And maybe that's a stronger foundation than rage. One day, months later, she handed me an envelope. Inside was a check. Not a huge amount, but more than I expected. I've been saving, she said. For you. For what I owe. I looked at the check, then at her. And for the first time, I felt the tension in my chest loosen. You don't owe me money, I said. You owe me the truth, always. She nodded. Then I'll keep paying in truth, every day. I smiled. Deal. And maybe, just maybe, we began building something new. Not on the foundation of our old home, but on the fragile, tentative beams of honesty. Sometimes, people break you in ways they never meant to. And sometimes, the same people are the only ones who know how to stitch you back together. My mother sold our home without telling me, and years later, she begged to be let back in. I let her in, not just into my apartment, but into the wreckage, into the truth. And slowly, painfully, we rebuilt. Not the house, but us. Was I wrong to give her another chance? Maybe. But sometimes the hardest door to open is the one that leads back to your own heart. Forgiveness is not a grand moment. It's not a movie scene with orchestral music or tearful embraces. Sometimes it looks like silence over dinner, 2 forks scraping plates, a mother washing the dishes, a daughter drying them, words still too heavy to say, yet not needed to understand. That was the rhythm my mother and I found. In the early weeks after our conversation, I'd wake up with an ache in my chest. Like part of me was still bracing for betrayal. But she never gave me a reason to close the door again. Every morning, she left for work at the diner, rain or shine, sore or not. She'd come home exhausted, smelling of hash browns and cheap coffee. But there was pride in her step, in the way she counted change, or showed me her bruised feet from long shifts like they were medals. I asked her once why she didn't apply somewhere nicer. She looked me dead in the eye and said, "Because this time, I want to earn the right to come home." That stuck with me. I wish I could say our relationship transformed overnight. It didn't. The wounds didn't close cleanly. They scabbed, reopened, scabbed again. But every time they reopened, she stayed. She didn't run. That was new. We started doing Sunday dinners. Just the two of us in my tiny kitchen. She made meatloaf the way Dad used to. I made salad and overcooked garlic bread. We'd sit across from each other, two women rebuilding a bridge, one meal at a time. And sometimes, when the silence got too loud, she'd tell me things. Little fragments of the mother I remembered. How she used to sing to me in the bathtub. How she'd tape my spelling words to the fridge. How she cried in her car after dropping me off at college, but didn't let it show. "I always wanted more for you," she said once, her voice soft. "I just didn't know how to be more for myself." That line unraveled me, because for so long I'd painted her as the villain in my story, the woman who betrayed me, abandoned me, took everything. But now, I saw the cracks beneath her decisions, the shame, the fear, the addiction no one had seen coming. I realized then, you can be a villain in someone's story, and still be a broken human in your own. Sometimes both. There was one night I'll never forget. It was late. The rain was back, steady and soft, tapping the windows like it was trying to get in. She knocked on my bedroom door, holding an old shoebox I didn't recognize. "I found this in storage," she said. "Thought you might want it." I opened it. Inside were old drawings I made as a kid, stick figure families, crayon suns, crooked hearts that read, "Me plus Mom plus Dad. Home." I felt my throat tighten. She sat beside me and traced one of the pictures with her finger. "I kept everything I could carry," she whispered, "even when I couldn't carry myself." I didn't know what to say, so I just leaned my head against her shoulder. For the first time in years, I let her hold me, not because I'd forgotten, but because I was learning how to remember differently. As the months passed, people asked questions. My coworker Lacey pulled me aside one day and asked, "Isn't it weird having her back, after everything?" I paused, thought about it. "It's not weird," I said. "It's hard, but it's honest. And that's more than we had for a long time." Some people didn't understand. They didn't have to. I wasn't rewriting history to make her a hero. I wasn't erasing the pain. But I was choosing not to let it define the rest of my life. Pain writes the first draft, but healing gets to write the final one. One year after she moved in, I drove past our old neighborhood. The house was still there. New paint, a different mailbox, a tree trimmed back too far. It didn't look like ours anymore. The porch swing was gone. The wind chime, too. I parked across the street and just sat there, watching. I thought I'd feel angry, but all I felt was distance, like the house had become a memory in a photo album. Still there, but no longer sharp at the edges. I didn't tell my mom I went. Some goodbyes don't need announcements. They just happen, quietly, fully, in your own heart. We celebrated her 2-year sobriety from gambling last month. She baked a cake, chocolate with strawberry frosting. It was lopsided and half-burnt, but she laughed, and I laughed with her. "I didn't think I'd make it this far," she said, blowing out the candle. "You did," I said. "And you're still going." She smiled. "So are we." And we are. The truth is, healing didn't look like forgiveness. It looked like effort, like morning coffee shared without bitterness. Like her showing up to my art show, wearing a blouse she found at Goodwill and clapping the loudest. Like us replanting a succulent together, laughing as we overwatered it. It looked like her asking, one day out of the blue, "Do you ever want to go back there? To the house?" I shook my head. "I don't think I need to." She nodded. "Me neither." We sat in that moment, free from ghosts. I still think about what it means to have someone you love break you. It's the kind of ache that teaches you how deep love can cut, but it also shows you how strong you are, how much you can rebuild from ash. My mother didn't deserve a second chance, but maybe I did. A chance to stop carrying rage like a second skin, a chance to stop clinging to the image of a mother I lost, and start accepting the flawed woman still trying. Some people say you should never let someone back in once they've destroyed your home. But maybe, just maybe, there's something powerful in letting them help build a new one. Not with wood and nails, but with truth, with accountability, with time. So now, when people ask me what happened, why I let her back in, why I didn't slam the door, I tell them this. She sold my childhood home without telling me. But in the end, she came back. Not for shelter, but to finally face what she'd broken. And together, we're learning how to build something that can't be sold. Something stronger, something real. Not a house, a home. Inside both of us.